Baxter Holmes, who reported this story, joins me now. And Baxter, nobody knows the story better than you. You reported it, you investigated it. What themes stand out to you from the culture under Robert Sarver's ownership?
One of the things that will probably always stay with me was how a very simple question to current and former staffers led to just really remarkable responses about the culture of the organization. And that question was, what's it like to work there? Or what was it like to work there? And you would hear the same themes over and over and again from people who worked in virtually every department across the organization throughout a 17-year period. And they would share the same kinds of stories. It was eerily similar with respect to, verbal harassment, retaliation, a culture of fear, a culture of intimidation, sharing stories about misogyny, racism, and a top-down, as we noted in the story, of Robert driving the culture, but then those beneath him acting in many ways in the same that he did.
Your reporting here is so thorough, but how was this allowed to go on for as long as it did, Baxter?
This is for as many questions as I asked of staffers, this is the question that they probably asked me the most. And they described watching investigations unfold in Dallas and with the Clippers and wondering, over a 17-year period, how has, not only you could say of the NBA, but just how has no entity, any entity at all, stepped in and held anyone to account, investigated the culture. Certainly there's been a ton of turnover, and there's how has no one taken a closer look? It's a question that many have asked of me throughout this process.
Interesting. So, one thing that stood out to me through all of this was the lack of HR. There were so many examples, but just one was the woman who said that after being assaulted, HR decided that moving her desk away from the male coworker who allegedly assaulted her was the solution. So why wasn't there overall, not just in that specific instance, more of a response? This
was a theme that came up time and again from so many staffers. In fact, some were texting me just before I came on air with you guys about the problems in HR and feeling that in a culture of fear and retaliation that they had no outlet to go to voice issues about those above them with respect to the conduct, with respect to behavior. Certainly that situation was one that was cited to me as an example of a failure and further evidence of employees saying, this is why we don't want to go to HR. Also, HR employees telling me that they would privately pull employees aside and saying, we cannot make amends to whatever the issues you're dealing with. We recommend that you would just sue the organization.
Wow. So when all of this began, the Suns were a team that had repeatedly been missing the playoffs, but they made their last NBA Finals, they made their first NBA Finals appearance just last year. So what then is the morale inside the organization now?
It was really striking to me because when I began reporting on this story, they had momentum coming off 8-0 run in the bubble after 10 years of being at the very bottom of the league.
Right.
And seeing this run, I was curious, what's the morale inside the organization? And people time and again said, in many ways, the culture is lower than it's ever been because all of the things that have plagued us for so long with respect to the culture and the workplace still exist. But there's all this excitement around the team finally being good again, but we on the inside are having to deal with these issues. And the word that people kept using is, it's bittersweet. We're not able to enjoy this.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Baxter, for your reporting and for joining us. I'm sure you're going to be back with us as we continue to monitor this story. And according to Baxter's reporting, NBA spokesperson Mike Bass said the league has not, quote, received a complaint of misconduct at the Suns organization through any of our processes, including our confidential workplace misconduct hotline or other correspondence.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.